worry and anxiety, something like that comes into your life, do you respond by getting quiet with God for a little while first, or do you respond by getting busy? If I just get busy, I can take my mind off of it. The problem is that's a little bit true, but when you finish doing what you did, the worry's still there. The only one who can take care of the worry is Jesus. So you got Luke chapter 10, verse 38. Now it happened as they went that he entered a certain village. That's Bethany, by the way. And a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. We believe that Martha was a widow, and this was her house. And she had a sister called Mary, we believe a younger sister, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. This word heard means absorbed. It's more than just hearing, it's an understanding of the information, not just hearing the information. Absorbed his word. But Martha was distracted with much serving. Now, I want you to notice the word much, because why was it much serving? We have this idea that Jesus traveled around with 12 guys, so it was 13 guys. First of all, 13 men in your house would be much serving, okay? But what we don't realize is theologians believe there were 20 to 30 people that traveled with Jesus all the time, men and women. And we're in Luke 10. Let me just back up to Luke 8, verse 1. Says, now it came to pass afterward that he went through every city and village, preaching and bringing the glad tidings of the kingdom of God. And the 12 were with him, and this is what we missed, certain women who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, out of whom had come 7 demons, Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's steward, and Susanna, watch this, and many others who provided for him from their substance. So again, a lot of people don't realize that women traveled with Jesus. And I just want to just say it to you. Do you really believe that 13 men could have traveled without women? And could have kept their schedule and could have planned ahead and, okay, all right. So Luke 10, we'll go back to Luke 10, verse 40. But Martha was distracted with much serving, that's where we left off, and she approached him and said, Lord, do you not care? Now, I just want us, we're going to come back to this statement, do you not care, and just talk about, have you ever felt that way? God, do you not care what I'm going through right now? But do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? You got to remember, Jesus is teaching. She's setting his feet, but everybody's listening to Jesus. Martha's in the kitchen alone. Because everybody's listening to Jesus, all right? Now watch this. I love this. This is an older child syndrome here. Therefore, tell her to help me. That's a little human, but I agree with it, but tell her to help me. And Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. The word trouble here means anxious. You are worried and anxious about many things, but one thing is needed. And Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her. Okay, first of all, I want to help you understand, I don't agree with the way most perceive this passage. I don't think Jesus was rebuking her for serving. That's not what, and I don't even think he was rebuking her. I don't think he was mean in what he said. I think when you think about it, I think it's very possible that the first thing he did was give her a hug. And then took her hands like this. And the reason is, in biblical language, when you use a person's name twice, it's compassion. You're actually saying, Martha, Martha. It would be like your spouse, your wife, your husband coming and saying, I'm just so worried about this meeting I have tomorrow or this event we have coming up, and you give them a big hug, and then you say, sugar, sugar. Sweetheart, sweetheart, I understand how you feel. It's normal that you would feel this way. This is what, I just want you to see this as differently than maybe you've seen it before. I think Jesus is saying, Martha, I understand, I get it. But do you not understand that the one who can multiply bread is sitting in your living room? I just need you to get back to, I'm in there teaching and you're worried about lunch. I can take care of lunch. Now, again, I'm not putting Martha down because I have a tendency to get worried and troubled about many things. I have a tendency to get stressed. But what I want you to know is that every time stress and tension comes in your life, you have a choice whether to get quiet or get busy. And I'm just simply saying that many of us here try to work through stress instead of just sit at Jesus's feet for just a little while. So when stress comes in, we immediately need to make that choice. All right, here's number 2, temporary or eternal. Every time something happens in your life that could be stressful, and now we're going to talk about the death of her brother Lazarus, do you respond with a temporary mindset or an eternal mindset? Again, human or divine. 2 Corinthians 4:18 says, while we do not look at the things which are seen. In other words, he's saying, don't look at what you can see, but at the things which you can't see. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. All right, so let's look at the story of Lazarus, John 11. Now, a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany, in the town of Mary and her sister Martha. Verse 5, now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. I don't understand that verse. Now, I do from an eternal perspective. I do now that I've read the rest of the passage. But you would think when he heard that he was sick, he left immediately and sped. He went as fast as he could. But instead, he stays 2 more days. Are y'all with me? So he stays 2 more days. And then verse 11, then he tells some things to his disciples. And then in verse 11, these things he said. And after that, he said to them, our friend Lazarus sleeps. But I go, now that's an eternal perspective, by the way, not a temporary one. But I go that I may wake him up. Then his disciples said, the humans, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get well. However, Jesus spoke of his death, but they thought he was speaking about taking rest and sleep. Then Jesus said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead. Idiots. And I'm glad for your sakes. Notice, I've never seen this before. I'm glad for your sakes, idiots, that I was not there, that you may believe. Nevertheless, let us go to him. Then verse 20. Now Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary was sitting in the house. How many years has she been sitting in the house now? it's the same thing. Martha is serving, Mary is sitting. Again, Now, you know what this shows? It shows different personalities. So the brothers died, Martha's working, Mary is contemplating. What I'm trying to say to you is, I'm not rebuking you if you're a person that says, I need to get busy. Not at all. I don't think Jesus was rebuking Martha for being busy. I think he was instructing her that you can get busy all you want, but if you never sit at my feet, you're not going to get over this. That's what I want to help you understand, all right? Verse 21. Now Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Now, I'd like for you to commit that to short-term memory. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died, all right? But even now, here's a divine response from Martha. So we always lift up Mary and put down Martha. Here's divine from Martha. But even now, I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you. Boy, that's good. And her brother's been dead 4 days. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, here's a human response, and human's not always bad. It's just normal. I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection. There's one of the I ams we covered last week in John. I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, now I want to explain this to you theologically, though he may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Okay, now, here's the thing though, see, because I'm grammarian, I like grammar, I listen to words. The words jump out at me, okay. He who believes in me, though he may die, will live again, and he who believes in me shall never die. Okay, which one is it? Is it though he may die or shall never die? Okay, let me explain to you. It's both. It's what I'm preaching on, divinity and humanity. See, as a human, you're going to die. But as a human that's been born again, you're never going to die. You're just going to transition to a new location. That's the difference. So that's how both of these statements are true. So now look at verse 26. He said, do you believe this? She said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God who has come into the world. Okay, that's real familiar. There's something we read a few weeks ago that Peter said, I believe you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said to him, that's divine. You didn't get that on your own. So I'm just showing you that Martha makes the divine responses in John 11. I believe you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. I believe. Then verse 32. Then when Mary, this is what I told you to commit to short-term memory a moment ago. Then when Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Exact same words. You can go back and read them later if you think I missed one. Exact same words. Now, again, I think we take this negatively. Possibly they were not even saying it accusatorily. Possibly they were just making a statement. Because see, a centurion, a Roman centurion, a centurion comes from the word cent, which means 100. So they were over 100 men. This Roman centurion comes up to Jesus and says, Lord, if you'll speak, my servant is sick, and would you come and would you heal him? And Jesus said, yeah, I'll come with you. And he said, you don't even need to come, just speak the word and he'll be healed. And it says Jesus spoke, and from that moment he was healed. From that very moment. Okay, so they could have been saying, you know, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died, but I know you couldn't get here, your schedule, you know, or whatever, but I wish you had been here, or I wish you had heard about it because, you know, then maybe you could have just spoken the word and he would have been healed. Possibly, though, they were a little upset. Possibly they knew that they had sent messengers and that Jesus stayed 2 more days. Possibly there's a little bit of the Martha from earlier, Matthew 10 when we read, where she said, do you not even care? I'm just saying, maybe they weren't saying it in a bad way, but maybe they were. Now, the reason I want to bring that out is, this is the way we feel sometimes. And I want to let you know it's actually okay to say it to God. And I want to let you know it actually doesn't even hurt his feelings. And it doesn't threaten him that you say to him, Lord, I'm mad at you right now. He might even say, kind of like to Martha, I understand. Possibly they were saying, you could have intervened, but you didn't. Now, I want you to think about it, because sometimes when we go through tragedies, and I'm not trying to bring up a painful memory for you, but that goes through our humanity, our human minds thinking, Lord, I heard about people getting healed, and yet my son didn't get healed. My sister didn't get healed. What I want to say to you is, it's okay for you to say it. And I actually think he would rather you say it to him than just think it. And by the way, he knows what you're thinking anyway. So I think they were trying to I think they were expressing their hurt and their disappointment. And that's okay to do that. See, we have this temporary or eternal. I'm gonna use the board here for a minute, okay? So this is, the first time I ever heard this was just reading a theological book years ago. This line is gonna represent eternity, all right? The reason it has an arrow on both ends is because eternity is not from now on. Eternity is it's always existed is what the word eternal means, okay? All right, so that's eternity, okay? The line. I'm gonna put a dot. Let me do it let's say like that, okay? That's your life. And let's just say you live to be 100 years old. And so if that was 100 years, and I made the dot really bigger, but somewhere in here is like 10,000 years, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, somewhere you get to 100,000, then somewhere in here, maybe over here you get to, it's not up to scale, to 1 million, and then 10 million, and you people over there to 100 million years from now, okay. So there we go. All right, here's my point. What's most of your focus on? The 100 years or eternity? What are most of your thoughts on? Here's a good one. What are most of your prayers about? This is the old saying, Pastor, you've quit preaching and gone to meddling. This is what we think about, pray about, have emotions about most of the time, is this dot instead of eternity. Every time something happens in your life, you can make a temporary decision or an eternal decision. And this is what John 11 is about. He's trying to help them to understand that. All right, so then let me hit just a little more about Jesus understanding death. And again, I think we misinterpreted this passage. John 11, verse 35 is the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. Would y'all like to memorize a verse in the Bible tonight? Today, huh? You want to do that? You ready? Jesus wept. You just memorized a verse in the Bible. It's got a subject and a verb, and that's it, all right? Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. Okay, I don't think he was weeping over Lazarus' death. And all you gotta do is back up 2 verses to see what he was weeping about. Verse 33 says, therefore, when Jesus saw her weeping, that's Mary, and the Jews who came with her weeping, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. When he saw humans who had just lost someone they loved weeping, not just crying, weeping, he groaned and was troubled. The word groaned here means to snort with anger. Like, just makes me mad when I think about it. And then the word troubled here means agitated. But he wasn't angry and agitated at Mary. He was angry and agitated at death. So on the cross, he destroyed it completely and took care of it, so it would never have power over us again. He wasn't weeping over Lazarus dying. He was about to raise him from the dead. Jesus wept, and everyone say, see how much he loved Lazarus. It wasn't Lazarus he was weeping about. It was Mary and Martha. It was the family that had gone through that. So there's so many things I think we just, here's the way 1 Corinthians 15 says it in the Message. Then the saying will come true, death swallowed up by triumphant life. Who got the last word, O death? O death, who is afraid of you now? Because of what Jesus did at the cross. Who's afraid of you now? And then again, I just love to see the humanity in this. Verse 38, then Jesus, again groaning in himself, again snorting with anger, came to the tomb. It was a cave and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, take away the stone. Martha, the sister of him who was dead, here's just a human thing to say, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he's been dead 4 days. Now, I like the way the old King James says it. The old King James says, he stinketh. He stinketh. It's kind of like you say to a baby, you know, oh, come here, let me, oh, what, Mom? You know, okay. She just gives a human response. He stinketh. All right, so that's 2. Here's number 3, and it doesn't take long to cover this. Human turned divine. I want to show you that you might do something that feels completely human to you, and yet it actually turns into something divine. Now, that was John 11. Here's John 12, verse 1. Then 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, who had been dead, whom he had raised from the dead. There they made him a supper. Now, watch, this is not a surprise, and Martha served. But Lazarus was one of those who sat at the table with him. Then Mary took a pound of very costly oil of spikenard, anointed the feet of Jesus. Matthew and Mark says she also anointed his head, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. And then remember, Judas got mad about it. He said this could have been sold for a year's wages, okay, given to the poor, and he didn't care about that because he stole out of the money box. Verse 7, but Jesus said, let her alone. She has kept this for the day of my burial. And Mark 14 says, she has done what she could. This is why I want you to know. Sometimes you might think what you're doing is just human, but it's just what you can do. She has done what she could. She has come beforehand to anoint my body for burial. Assuredly, I say to you, wherever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told as a memorial or as an eternal thing. I mean, it's still being told today. Here we are over 2,000 years later, and I'm telling you about it today. This has become eternal, what she's done. By the way, this is the only anointing for burial Jesus' body had, because they had to get him in the tomb quickly because it was the Sabbath, the sun was going down, and so it says they showed up on the morning after the Sabbath, and they brought 100 pounds of spices to embalm his body, but of course we know he wasn't there. That's what Easter's all about, the resurrection, okay? So here's something she thought, I'll just do what I can. I'll just do, and to her it was just an impression, and yet God turned it into something that was divine. We're humans, but you can do something that God, who is the divine, could use to touch someone else. Hey everyone, I'm Pastor Robert, and thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. Be sure to share what God is teaching you in the comments below so that it might encourage others. And click the subscribe button and then tap the bell icon so that you'll be notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget, you can watch full episodes anytime right here on my YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching.